Worldly Duties or Divine Service, January 6th, 2019. True and false devotees and incarnations. A false devotee is one who tries to escape from the practical service and sacrifice to God. He exploits the fact that the omnipotent God is not in any real need of service or sacrifice from petty human beings. A true devotee is one who performs the practical service and sacrifice to God along with pure theoretical devotion. He completely surrenders to God in both theory and practice. He proves the theoretical devotion in his mind by practically serving and sacrificing his money for God. A false incarnation is a glorified beggar. He cheats devotees by saying that they must do practical service and sacrifice to him for the sake of their own spiritual welfare and not because he needs it. A true incarnation never aspires for anything from the devotee, since he has absolutely no need. He accepts the service and sacrifice of the devotee in the interest of the devotee, so that the devotee may be truly uplifted on the spiritual path. There are two perfect matches. The first one is the true devotee and the true incarnation, and the second one is the false devotee and the false incarnation. When the true devotee meets the true incarnation, the devotee is benefited. When the false devotee meets with the false incarnation is taught a good lesson. Let's also see the cross associations. When the false devotee meets the true incarnation, only the false devotee suffers a loss. No loss ever comes to the true incarnation. When the true devotee meets the false incarnation, the true devotee gets cheated if the devotee is not capable of doing a proper analysis in order to recognize the true incarnation. Just as the incarnation tests devotees, the devotee must also test incarnations. Tests based on sharp and intelligent analysis are needed on both sides. The customer tests the golden ornament before purchasing it from the jeweler. The jeweler also tests the currency notes given by the customer to see whether they are genuine or fake. Krishna began his preaching of the Gita with the concept of Buddhi Yoga, which is sharp analysis using one's intelligence. He even ended his preaching highlighting the same point of thorough analysis, Vimrushyayi tadasheshana. This intelligent analysis must be used to test the incarnation. The devotee must never blindly accept the knowledge given by the incarnation. He must accept it only upon being fully convinced after a thorough analysis. Identifying the incarnation of God. How to identify a true incarnation? Generally, people identify an incarnation by his ability to perform miracles. People are attracted to these miracles since they are useful to solve their worldly problems. But the worldly problems are confined only to this birth. Such people realize their blunder only in the last minutes before their death, when there is no time for rectification. Miracles can be done even by devils. They get miraculous powers from God through rigorous penance. The main problem with miracles is that they increase the selfishness in a devotee. The devotee develops the habit of exploiting the power for solving worldly problems and getting worldly benefits. But the usefulness of these miracles is limited only to this birth. Unfortunately, the selfishness developed in the devotee as a result of the miracles prevents the divine grace from working on the devotee, and it spoils the spiritual growth of the devotee. This is a huge loss which affects the soul in all future births. Miracles are useful to deal with the scientific atheists or atheistic scientists. These are people who do not believe in God but who are capable of objective and patient analysis. They are people who accept proof and are capable of changing their opinion in the face of contrary evidence. There is no need to attempt to change adamant atheists because they will never change, even if they experience miracles. They lack the ability to conduct an objective analysis or change their opinion in the face of contrary evidence. Similarly, silent pure scientists are satisfied to study only science and are not capable of inquiring about anything beyond science. There is no need to show miracles and attempt to change them either. Miracles are useful for the devotee to solve the worldly problems of the present birth, but they increase the devotee's selfishness. Eating sweets serves the purpose of temporary pacification of hunger, but it increases the risk of diabetes. The best identification of an incarnation has been told as the true spiritual knowledge given by him. This divine knowledge helps souls progress in worldly life, or Pravrutti, by establishing justice and peace. It also helps souls progress in spiritual life, or Nivrutti. This true spiritual knowledge is described in the Veda as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, and in the Gita as Jnani Tvatmaiva Me Matihi. Why has the true spiritual knowledge been given such total importance? The reason is that it helps in giving right direction to the soul for its temporary welfare in Pravrutti as well as permanent welfare in Nivrutti. A person usually has a strong fascination for the worldly bonds of money, spouse, and child. Driven by this fascination, he commits sins in the world. The true spiritual knowledge diverts a person's strong fascination from the worldly bonds towards God. Thus, it prevents the person from committing sins. Then the person naturally avoids punishment in this world and in the afterworld. This is the contribution of spiritual knowledge to a person's worldly life. As the person advances further and further in the same true spiritual knowledge, in course of time, it brings the person closer and closer to God. The person gets the opportunity of not just becoming a human incarnation, but also becoming the master of God. Becoming the human incarnation of God is attaining monism with God, which is the goal of the monistic philosophy of Advaita. The goal of the dualistic philosophy of Dvaita is to surrender to God as a devoted servant. But God, out of love, treats such a surrendered devotee as his own master. Thus the goal of dualism is higher than the goal of monism. Of course, both these fruits are given by God only to the devotees who do not aspire for any fruit from God. Hence, the attachment to God is the essential starting point for success in Pravrutti as well as in Nivrutti. It is the railway ticket purchased right up to Delhi which represents the goal of Nivrutti or spiritual life. It allows you to break the journey at the intermediate station, which is Pravrutti or worldly justice. If you learn spiritual knowledge, develop theoretical devotion, and practice practical devotion to God, you have purchased the ticket right up to the abode of God, which is known as Brahmaloka. You can break your journey for a very short time at the intermediate station, which is heaven or Swargaloka. But if you only do good social service, you have purchased a ticket only up to the intermediate station called heaven. With it, you can stay for a longer time in heaven, but you will have to return to earth thereafter. If you consider the attachment to God as Nivrutti, then this Nivrutti is essential from the very beginning of Pravrutti. The attachment to God leads to a simultaneous detachment from worldly bonds. In the first stage of Pravrutti, the attachment to God is only partial. The partial detachment from worldly bonds due to this partial attachment to God enables a person to follow the path of justice in Pravrutti. The attachment to God grows and becomes complete in the latter stage of Nivrutti. Both partial and full attachments to God can be called as Nivrutti. Thus, spiritual knowledge, which is the starting point for developing attachment to God, is the essential requirement for both the worldly path of justice and the spiritual path of devotion.